Sweetheart,
Okay.
in the same way that you would agree that there's never a time when Allah is not Allah, right? Despite
Correct.
any action that He takes within the universe or within any context you have in the Quran or the Hadiths, there's never a time when Jesus, being the very word and wisdom of God, the Logos, is never God. Any of the indications of him being given glory or shedding his glory, these are to do with the idea of him being incarnate in the form of a human. It is not speaking about the divine glory that never goes away because by nature he always has his divine glory because like you said before in the hypostatic union these are two natures, a uncreated divine nature and a created human nature existing in a single person. So the single person is the means by which any action is taken, and that person, being both human and divine, can never not be divine in the same way that from the point of the incarnation, he can never not also have the human nature. So there's never a time when he's speaking and suddenly the divine nature is turned off. It's
Hmm.
always active.
Okay. So you said God is always God. With that, I agree
God is always
100%.
God. Yes.
100%. It's impossible for God to not be God at one time.
That
Some
would be
people say God can
logical.
do everything. I disagree. He can't stop being God, for example.
We,
That's
we
a good example.
say, what the way we phrase that is God can do everything that's logically possible.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
there's anything illogical, like, making a rock stop existing,
yeah,
create a second God, we
yeah.
don't hold to that.
Yeah. We say the same. We say Allah can't do anything which does not befit His Majesty. For example, creating a rock which He can't lift. That's impossible.
That's different, however. So when you say Allah can't do anything that befits His Majesty, you're not necessarily saying that there aren't things that are illogical that Allah can't do, because Allah's Majesty, to me,
Yep.
appears to be something that you guys just sort of like spin up on the fly.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from because the Ghair Ahmadi Muslims do this a lot as well. I've seen this, but essentially, I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying anything which is illogical for God to do, this would be what contradicts His Majesty. So He can't do anything which is illogical, basically.
Okay, so for example, there's nothing illogical about taking on a human flesh
Okay,
for
now I have a
God.
question. I have a question about this. You said God is
So
always God. I agree with
can
this.
he do that?
But
Just out of curiosity.
taken off, limiting himself, I believe this will go against His Majesty. But also,
Well, he
you said
wouldn't be.
specifically about what you said earlier. You said that there was never a time that Jesus just immediately his divinity stopped. He always had the divine glory. So the question, this was your response, right? You said he always had this glory, and he's
Yes.
always God. So my question to this will be, why is he praying to the Father in John 17:5 to get this glory if he already possesses it?
So effectively, the idea there is that it's not that he is requesting glory that he doesn't possess, but he is. Don't forget that when we have the actions of Jesus, we also hold that, for example, he is praying not only because he is one of a multi-personal God who is three, and obviously we believe our God is personal, so he can communicate with not only us but also the other two members of the Trinity, but also that he is teaching us how to pray. Essentially, he's showing us his sunnah, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
see.
when he is mentioning the glory that he's asking the Father for, this is not in essence of the divine glory, but this is like the glorification that he could show to the disciples that he will then give to them also to cast out demons in his
I
name,
think
heal
I
the sick
think
in his
this.
name.
Sorry.
Yeah, verse
I
this,
think this
this
would be divine glory. Sorry, go on.
yeah, this is where like this is my understanding of it
Yeah.
because how obviously he is requesting something, right?
Hmm.
And this is talking about when he says this is the glory that he had with the Father before the world was.
Hmm.
We see him receive this when he is exalted. Remember, Jesus says, "I came down from heaven."
Hmm.
Mm.
Right? He said, "I was with the Father, and I came down from heaven." And a lot of times, you see him say stuff like, "Man, how much longer do I have to be here with you guys? And how much longer do I have to endure this with you?" Right? And you disbelieving people, an adulterous generation, and yada
Yeah.
yada yada. right? And he says, "Where I'm going," to some of the people, "where I'm going, you can't come. You can't come. You're of your father the devil," type stuff. Anyway, so this glory that we see Jesus is asking for is it's not like he lost his divine nature, no, but it has to do with his majesty and his his royalty, his heavenly royalty and exaltation, right? So the Bible talks about how Jesus, even though he was in the form of God, right, by very nature God, the word morphe, he's by very nature God, he did not count equality with God something to hold on to, but the Bible says that he emptied himself, made himself nothing, of no reputation, right? Made himself of no reputation and took on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. So he gave up that reputation, set that reputation aside, that exaltation, he set that aside
By
and took
becoming
on the
man.
form of a servant.
Mm.
So then what we see here, we see he set that's the glory he's talking about, that he set aside, that exaltation, that reputation, that majesty that he had. He set it aside for a while, and then now he's asking for it back.
Correct.
His
So yeah.
exaltation.
So when he set this aside, so in the beginning there was God, there was Jesus, Spirit, and the Father, and all of them obviously had the same divine glory, being before the creation. Then during the creation, when he's incarnated into flesh, he's asking for this back which he set aside, meaning that during the specific time he does not possess it because he set it aside and he said,
No.
"Oh, Father, bless me with this back."
So the
Let me.
setting aside is
Yeah.
simply coming in the form of a man. That's what we mean. So for example, it would be like a king who is a king by his appointment, stepping down from his throne, and then maybe, for example, walking the streets of his kingdom as a beggar. But then ultimately his identity is still one of a king. But then his station suddenly, as perceived by his fellow citizens of his kingdom, is now nothing more than just a beggar. So ultimately, he always possesses his kingly glory. However, he does not showcase it when he's in the form of a beggar. Similarly, the Word of God, Jesus, always possesses his divine glory, but does not showcase it fully when he is in the form of a man. Because if he had, for example, it would be impossible for anyone to actually even gaze upon his face. You have this idea that Allah's radiance can
Mm.
destroy
Yeah, yeah,
creation if the veil wasn't there.
yeah.
So
For example, the
imagine,
mountain.
yes. So imagine if Jesus walked around the earth in its full divine glory. We would also hold that the radiance of his face would also destroy creation, as
Hmm.
far as I could see. So
Okay.
effectively, that is what is being talked about there. The glorification is not just the divine nature being suddenly returned to him. It is the glorification of status. Because John 17:5
Heaven.
says, "Glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world was."
Yeah, and had this is the point I'm trying to say, that had is past tense, meaning that during the presence he does not have it. After the prayer has been fulfilled and accepted in the future, he will have it back as he had it in the beginning, before he was incarnated. Correct?
Yeah, it's
Correct.
but yeah, but the difference is the what. So Dawood is expressing the station, right? It like the if when the king comes down, right,
Mm.
walks amongst his people as a beggar, it doesn't mean that he himself, identically is not king anymore.
Mhm.
Just that he set that status aside for a second to do what he do to fulfill the role that he took on
This
purpose, right?
reminds me of, you asked. I told you, right, that I spoke to Anan Rashid. And
Mm.
he keeps saying, in order to keep Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last prophet, he keeps saying Jesus will come back, 100% he will come back. I challenge him to prove this, by the way. He made up verses, and I've clipped this is on my account. He made up verses to try back this. I challenge him to show this verse. I challenge his son Musa Adnan as well on Twitter all the time. Show me this verse, your dad killing. Anyways, in order to keep Muhammad, the last prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, yes, Jesus will come back. By the way, I don't believe this, but he says he will come back in a non-prophetic capacity. Brother, what type of nonsense is this? In my understanding, I even made a video, I think yesterday. I said essentially what you're saying is to keep Muhammad the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're disrespecting Jesus. Because some of his followers, they say he's no longer a prophet, right? Which I think that's just disrespect, blatant disrespect. And who are you to take away his prophethood, to split on his prophethood, right? Number one.
Isn't
Number
he
two,
supposed to, like, disestablish jizya,
Yeah.
and then break the cross or
yeah,
something, and then
yeah,
kill all the
break,
pigs?
break,
How, how,
kill the pigs,
how
yeah.
can you do all that if you're not a prophet?
You have to ask him. And some of them, or Adnan Rashid himself, he says that he will come back, and he uses these words. He uses these words. I don't know what they mean. You can ask him, but he says he will come back in a non-prophetic capacity. So what I understood from this, which I don't know if this is what he means or not, because they're never straightforward. For example, you don't know which sect Adnan Rashid is from. You don't know which sect Hamza Zden is from. They hide this. They are not proud of their beliefs. I'm Ahmadi, alhamdulillah, say here proudly I'm Ahmadi, right? They don't say what they believe in, because when you quote them, their scholars, they can't say anything. Hamza then said to GodLogic, the hadith is made up because it doesn't have a number. You show him, Hamza, look, this is your scholar. What is he saying? He's saying the exact opposite, right? So this is why these people, they hide their beliefs, which is very cowardice, right? But
Yeah.
anyways, the point was, I said in my video that what you're saying is, when you say he's coming back in a non-prophetic capacity, you're saying he's coming back like a phone without battery, like a car without fuel. Why? What made you say that his prophetic capacity vanished? From where do you have this, Yani?
That's good.
Anyways,
Well,
it's,
Well, look, we got other guests that want to come on,
yeah.
Bashir.
Just quickly, I wanted to speak
Yeah.
about the Basilides, if you don't mind. Just quickly,
Speak about what?
the Basilides, heretic group
But
Basilides. They believe Simon of Cyrene was crucified.
Facilities.
Yes,
Facilities.
yes.
Bring that next time. Bring
Okay,
that next time, okay?
inshallah.
Bring that next time.
All right,
But yeah,
God bless.
I
Take care.
appreciate you coming on.
well,
Thank you for the opportunity.
I guess the last thing on that point is, in the same way that in Islam you have very strict criteria as to what makes a Muslim. If anybody denies the crucifixion, they're automatically not a Christian.
Yeah.
But by the, I don't know if you know this or not. By the way, we believe as Ahmadis that Jesus was on the cross, but was not crucified. We don't believe he was killed on the cross, but we believe he was on the cross. So that's also
Well,
one. This is why I was going to
simply
mention the Basilides. Inshallah, next time we'll get to this. This is why I was going to
simply
mention them.
Yeah,
simply
we'll do
to
this
be on
next
the
time.
cross means you're crucified. It
That's
doesn't
what
mean
they.
you have
That's
to
what some
die,
of them say.
but
That's what some of them say. I say no. You have to be crucified, meaning you have to die. You have your corpse. You know, in Deuteronomy, the corpse who's hanged. The
there
corpse
are
was made in the
people
corpse.
who've survived crucifixion and they were still crucified.
No, that's an attempt of crucifixion, I would say. But we'll get to this next time. That's like attempted murder, right?
Crucifixion isn't a type of death, but okay, sure, it's a
It's a type
punishment.
of death, is my understanding. It's a type of death. But yeah, was a pleasure speaking to you,
All right,
Dawood and Avery. Take care.
Take care, man. Take
no
care.
worries, man.
I forgot. Good, man. Pretty good.
All
You're
right.
Muslim?
So listen, dude. I used to be a Muslim. Defending it is, after doing my own due diligence on what I haven't been taught. Defending it is absolutely impossible for me. So that I'm not here to debate. I'm here actually to ask a question and learn about Christianity. If I'm going too far off topic, just let me know. All right.
No, what's your question? Sure.
How does Christianity view the works that have been excluded from the canon? Like, for example, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which actually, and if you look at those works, they actually focus quite a lot on esoteric teachings in Christianity.
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so none of these have ever been a part of the canon. These were, Gnostic writings that came, hundreds of years after people have actually died that they write their names on. So one, you see that they go against everything that the apostles wrote and taught. They go against the gospel. They go against the prophets. They contradict them in every way, and they're forged. Mary Magdalene never wrote a gospel. Mary, the mother of Jesus, never wrote a gospel. Thomas didn't write anything. He didn't write a gospel of Thomas. Barnabas did not write a gospel of Barnabas. They did all this type of stuff, man. So
Okay, so it's basically historically proven that these are forgeries then.
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, so that was my short question. I just wanted to know that, guys. Thank you so much, and until the next time.
For sure, for sure.
I
Take
could
care.
I could give you a slightly more rounded answer, just in case you want to know as well. So the way to
Sure.
disambiguate these, like all these other gospels, like the gospel of Ibn Dawood or whatever, right? The way you can disambiguate them is effectively ask yourself like four questions, which are like the four criteria that were used in the early church to determine what the New Testament canon was. Number one, can you tie it back to an apostle? Number two, can you tie it back to the first century? If it escapes the first century, all the apostles were dead before the first century elapsed, so it can't be from them. Was it used for teaching in any church anywhere in the world? Did people go to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene to to see the life of Jesus, or to learn and teach the congregation? And then lastly, was it seen as authoritative? Were people referring to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in order to prove a point on doctrine? If it doesn't meet those four, then it probably is a gospel from anywhere from the early second down to the 16th century. So that's how you sort of know if it is a real gospel or not.
I understand. And what about, because there have been, as far as I have understood it, there have been smaller groups of early Christians who have followed some of these, gnosis, if you will, or teachings or whatever, and they were of the opinion that it should be included in the teachings, but at the same time, these were groups of people who did not see Jesus as a divine character, but rather like some type of Buddha figure, if you will.
So I think it's okay for Christians to be very strict in saying that if anybody denies the crucifixion, the resurrection, or the hypostatic union of Christ, then definitionally they're not a Christian.
Straight up.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, definitely. All right.
If you have any more questions, Big Dame, you're welcome
That
to come
was
back
it.
on
Thank you guys so
anytime.
much always for the hospitality. Have a good one.
You too,
God
brother.
bless.
Take care. All right, all right. So this guest won't be able to hear you, Dawood. You're gonna have to
I'll keep
shut.
quiet. I'll stop talking. All right.
Okay. By the way, it's Wednesday. What you doing here?
I got time. I saw you on.
Yeah, you got time.
Yeah,
You
I
got
got time.
time today.
I got time today. Can't guarantee how time next week, but we'll see.
Nice, nice.